Hey, I'm Amelia Mosley and you're watching BTN. I hope you had the best holidays. Oh, it's great to be back. Let's jump into term 2 and see what's coming up on today's show. We learn about the great homework debate. Find out what it takes to be an astronaut. And meet a primary schooler helping the homeless. All that soon, but first up, let's find out more about a journey the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese made last week when he became the first sitting Aussie PM to walk part of the Kokoda Track. Sass found out why it's such a significant site for Australians. Take a look.
It's a journey many Australians have made before, to a place that is special to a lot of people. On Tuesday last week, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese was given a leader's welcome as he arrived in Kokoda village to hike a section of the Kokoda Trail with Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister, James Marape.
It's such a humbling experience to walk in the footsteps of giants with the PNG Prime Minister.
The Kokoda Trail is a 96-kilometre walking trail that winds through the Owen Stanley Range in Papua New Guinea, from Oa's Corner to the village of Kokoda in the north. It was first used by European gold miners in the 1890s, but it was in 1942 that the Kokoda Trail became a big part of Australia's military history. At the time, the Second World War had been raging for 2 years. Japan, which was fighting with the Axis powers, had invaded a number of countries in Southeast Asia and was getting closer to Australia. In February, Japanese forces bombed Darwin and launched an attack to try to capture the capital of Papua, Port Moresby. At the time, Papua and New Guinea were territories of Australia, and defending them was vital to Australia's safety. The trouble was, Australian troops were already fighting overseas, so reserves were sent in instead. They didn't have a lot of training or modern equipment, and many were very young. Some were volunteers and others were conscripted. They arrived by boat in Port Moresby, then headed to Kokoda to head off Japanese soldiers who'd landed in Boona. The journey along the Kokoda Trail is hard work, uphill in dense jungle. The narrow tracks turned into rivers of mud in the humid environment, and the nights were freezing cold. Diseases like malaria spread among the soldiers. The Australians had help from the Papuan people, who scouted locations, carried supplies, and helped the wounded. Reinforcements were sent to help the reservists, and eventually, Japan began to withdraw from the track. On the 2nd of November, Australia recaptured Kokoda. 625 Australians died, alongside 150 Papuans in battles during the Kokoda campaign, while another 4,000 Australians died from disease. In the years after the war, the Kokoda Trail became a pilgrimage for many Australians, who would make the 4 to 12-day journey to honour the soldiers who fought and died here. But this is the first time a sitting Prime Minister has ever hiked a section of the trail. On the first day, Anthony Albanese and James Marape walked 9 kilometres from Kokoda to Hoi village,
Your presence here today,
where they were greeted by locals and camped under the stars. On the Wednesday, they continued the uphill trek with just a minor stumble, before arriving at Ishurava, the site of a long and deadly battle during the Kokoda campaign.
What we have done over the past couple of days is get just a small insight of the courage and resilience.
On Anzac Day, the leaders attended a dawn service together, where they paid respect to the people who died in the Kokoda campaign, and in every battle before and since.
We hold to the solemn promise our country's made to the fallen all those years ago. We will remember them.
Former US President and presidential hopeful Donald Trump is being tried in a New York court. Do you know what charges he's facing? Is it falsifying business records, obstructing official proceedings, or holding classified documents? In this case, it's falsifying business records. The prosecution says in the lead up to the 2016 election, Mr. Trump paid to cover up stories that would make him look bad and then hid those payments. He's the first US president to ever face criminal charges, and he's got 3 more criminal court cases to come. Can you name this world leader? It's Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, a position he's hoping to hold on to as his country goes to the polls. Over the next few months, more than 970 million people will vote for the 543 members of the Lok Sabha, or House of the People, making this the biggest election ever held. What big change did Australia Post bring in over the holidays? Drone deliveries, fewer standard mail deliveries, or fewer parcel deliveries? It was fewer standard mail deliveries. To save costs and free up time for parcel deliveries, AusPost is now only delivering standard letters to homes every 2 days. A comet named 12P Pons Brooks has appeared in the sky for the first time in 71 years. What's the comet's nickname? Is it the Ghost Comet, the Devil Comet, or the Demon Comet? It's the Devil Comet, because in some older photos it kind of looked like it had horns. Now, to us at least, it looks like a fuzzy green ball with a tail. And while we're in space, let's head to Mars, where this interplanetary helicopter has beamed its last signal back to Earth. Do you know its name? Is it Ingenuity, Curiosity, or Perseverance? It's Ingenuity. NASA made the helicopter to test out how hard it would be to fly in Mars's difficult conditions. It crash landed in January this year, but while it can't fly anymore, it will keep on taking pictures, which we may get to see if we ever land on Mars. With the countdown on to the Paris Olympic Games, a lot of people are talking about doping. That's because of recent reports that 23 Chinese swimmers tested positive to a banned drug before the last Olympics, but they were allowed to compete anyway. So, what's going on? Let's find out.
Stop! Stop! Wait, what are you doing?
I'm helping Jack.
Yeah.
You can't do that, that's cheating.
Oh, cheating is such a strong word. Think of them as more enhancing my performance.
What?
When it comes to sport, or I guess this game of Snap, you'd like to think everyone was playing fair. But as long as people have been competing, they've been finding ways to get the winning edge.
Snap. You know, you're not very good at this.
Well, maybe I would be if I had someone helping me.
Thousands of years ago, during the ancient Olympic Games, it was quite common for athletes to experiment by eating or drinking different things to see what effect they may have when competing. And when the first modern Olympic Games began in 1896, the International Olympic Committee weren't too concerned with Olympians using drugs to give them an advantage. But as the years went on, performance-enhancing drugs became more effective, and it started to become clear how unfair it was for the athletes who weren't using them. Plus, some drugs were seriously dangerous, and some athletes even died after taking them. In the 1960s, the IOC banned athletes from using performance-enhancing drugs. Regular testing became a thing, and eventually the World Anti-Doping Agency, or WADA, was established as a way to stop illegal doping. Although it didn't go away. Over the years, there have been some famous doping scandals. For example, Canadian sprinter Ben Johnson tested positive to banned drugs 2 days after breaking the world record in the men's 100 metres at the 1988 Olympics in Seoul. In 2007, American track and field athlete Marion Jones admitted to doping while competing at the 2000 Sydney Olympics. At the 2016 Olympics in Rio, many Russian sporting stars were disqualified from competing after failing drug tests. And just last week, we found out that 23 Chinese swimmers had tested positive to small amounts of a drug called tremetazidine during the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
It's been revealed 23 members of the Chinese squad
tested positive for the banned substance tramatazidine.
It's a drug that's used to treat heart disease, but it also helps with endurance, and it's banned. The Chinese anti-doping agency says the athletes didn't mean to take it, and that it had somehow found its way into food at the hotel they were staying at. And WADA accepted the explanation.
We had no evidence of wrongdoing to present and no credible way to disprove the contamination theory that was accepted by China and a position that was also accepted by World Aquatics.
But now, 3 years later, many countries say that China and WADA should have been open about the positive testing, and that the athletes shouldn't have been allowed to compete even if it was an accident.
The whole situation is a tragedy for clean athletes around the world. The fact that, the rules weren't followed.
WADA has stood by its decision.
If we had to do it over again now, we would do exactly the same thing.
But with the Paris Olympic Games less than 100 days away, many will be looking closely at the issue of doping to make sure the Games are as fair as possible.
Athletes are calling for a review and investigation, and we have to get to the bottom of how this possibly happened.
Now to Poland, where some kids are celebrating after the government decided to ban homework. For lower primary school kids, that is. The idea is to give kids more time to be kids. Justina found out more about the debate around homework.
Hey, Nat here. Let's see what's making news. Poland has just banned homework. Yes, that's right, no homework ever. For lower primary students anyway. Here's Ren.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yeah, let's move to Poland.
No, let's make a mind control device so we can make the Prime Minister ban homework in Australia.
Okay.
Yep, over here in Poland, kids here are living the dream. Homework is now banned for students in years 1 to 3, and for students in years 4 to 8, it's optional and won't count towards grades.
I am happy because this homework, I did not like it too much. And it didn't really make much sense because most people in my class in the morning would copy it from someone who has done the homework.
It's a little bit uncool that there is no more homework. But when there is no homework, that's also rather cool.
The Polish government decided to make the big move after a moment that went viral at a campaign rally in the lead up to the parliamentary elections, where a 14-year-old decided to make a stand for all Polish kids.
This is a general problem of Polish schools that children's rights are being violated. For example, the right to take some rest. There's homework to be done during weekends, tests on Mondays, and so much homework is given to us that we find no time to rest.
A lot of people agreed with Mieczek. Before the ban, Polish kids spent around 1.7 hours per day on homework, which is more than a lot of other countries. And some experts questioned whether or not it was doing any good.
When I read research regarding the mental health of children, their overload with learning, the reasons for depression, tension, stress, or loss of interest in learning, one of the factors, the one that could be removed the fastest, was the burden of homework.
Some studies have shown that while homework can be handy for high school students, in primary school it doesn't necessarily help you learn, and it takes up time that could be better spent doing things like hanging out with friends, playing sport, or doing other creative stuff.
I don't mind it, but I still feel like it's a waste of time.
Because you could do everything else, like you could do exercise, you could play games.
On the flip side, fans of homework say it can be a good way of making sure all the stuff you've learned at school sticks in your head and getting your parents involved in your learning. It can also teach you how to work independently and to help you get ready for high school and university.
You can research more and you have more time to catch up.
My grades have gone up a lot because of doing homework.
Some parents and teachers in Poland aren't on board with the ban, which they say happened too quickly and without enough consultation. So could something like this happen here? Well, right now it's not on the cards, and it's up to schools to decide their own homework policies. Unless, of course...
3, 2, 1.
Did it work?
Probably not.
While we don't know exactly who invented homework, some people credit famous ancient Roman scholar Pliny the Younger. He would ask followers to practice their public speaking at home. Homework may have even saved Pliny's life. When Mount Vesuvius erupted, he decided not to go and see it with his uncle because he wanted to finish some written work. Phew.
We're watching BTN from Focus Island District High School.
Aussie Katherine Bennell-Peg has finished training with the European Space Agency in Germany to become a real-life astronaut. She's the first woman to do that under the Australian flag. Jack found out what Katherine's been up to and what it takes to go to space.
It's a career many dream of having, and one that's not for the faint-hearted. Taking months, sometimes years of training just to be qualified for the...
Wait, months of training? I haven't had any training. They just gave me this flimsy spacesuit and said to walk in slow motion. I didn't know you had to have training to be an astronaut. Did you know about the training?
While I might not be completely qualified to be an astronaut, someone who is now is Australia's own Katherine Bennell-Peg.
I've got the astronaut wings on and the Australian flag on my shoulder. It's absolutely incredible to graduate as an astronaut, especially an Australian astronaut, is a dream come true.
You might remember Katherine. Michelle chatted with her last year.
Welcome to the Australian Space Discovery Centre.
When it was announced that she'd been chosen out of more than 22,000 applicants to be the first Australian to train as an astronaut in Germany, as part of a partnership between the Australian Space Agency and the European Space Agency.
I didn't believe I'd ever have the chance to do this as an Australian, and now here we are. And, you know, while I might be the first to represent Australia, I certainly am determined to not be the last.
That's right. Many hope that Katherine's success will lead to other Aussies being invited to train with different space agencies. So now, like me, you're probably thinking,
what exactly does it take to be an astronaut?
Yeah, this year's been 13 months of intense training in many different topics.
Oh, intense training and many different topics.
The major highlight was last week when I went on a zero-G plane. So that's when you go up in a special plane and in bursts of 22 seconds experience close to zero-G. And we're going upside down. And we did that to learn how to maneuver in space and avoid colliding too much and to do actual exercises.
Zero-G means zero gravity. It feels like you're floating because gravity isn't pulling you down anymore.
Ooh, which sounds absolutely incredible.
I mean, it's absolutely incredible.
There you go.
If you can't get your hands on a zero-G plane, how about a spacewalk underwater?
I don't think this pool is going to be big enough.
Well, there are plenty of other things that you'll need to learn, like how to speak Russian.
Borscht. Is that it? Borscht? Borscht.
That's because both Russian and English are spoken on the ISS. Oh, speaking of which, you'll also need to know how to operate and maintain the International Space Station.
I don't know about that.
Of course, you'll also have to have an understanding of robotics.
What are you?
And how to conduct experiments in space.
Oh, I'm sure it'll work in space.
Oh, and the most important part.
Oh yeah, what am I going to wear?
And I got to try on the new suit for humans going back to the moon. So that was a special day, and they're looking at making them far more for diverse body types and more comfortable than before. So more people can go to space and do good work up there.
While Katherine isn't signed up for a mission to space just yet, her new qualification means she could one day head to the International Space Station and become the first Aussie woman in space. But in the meantime, she wants to inspire the astronauts of the future to shoot for the stars.
Well, I would say go for it. Being an astronaut is as fun as you can imagine. Work hard at school, work hard at your job, and dream big because it can happen.
Oh, that's what ISS stands for.
Abort mission. I repeat, abort mission.
The zero-G plane that astronauts train on has an interesting nickname. Do you know what it is? The Spew Ship, Vomit Comet, or the Retching Rocket? It's the Vomit Comet. Gross.
24th birthdays don't come much better than this.
A superb Champions League semi-final.
Ellie Carpenter and her Lyon team are heading to the Women's Champions League final after they beat fellow French side PSG 2-1 in the second leg of their semi-final run. The team will now take on Barcelona for the title. Not before a quick happy birthday though. Now to Live Golf, which took place in Adelaide over the weekend. And for the third time, American pro Brendan Steele took the win by just one shot.
I really can't say enough great things about the golf course and the fans and the whole country here. It's just been fantastic.
Meanwhile, the Aussies took the win in the teams category, thanks to some nifty work from Cameron Smith.
Through Aussie grit.
And finally, to the Olympic torch, which has just set sail on a 128-year-old French ship en route to France.
Watching the Belém leaving with the flame on it, it was really amazing and exceptional.
The flame will arrive in Marseille next week, kicking off a torch relay around the country. That will end at the Olympic opening ceremony in Paris.
Finally today, let's meet Ashton, also known as Mr. 10. He's been taking action to help support people experiencing homelessness in Canberra. Check it out.
Hi, my name is Mr. 10 and I've been raising money for the homeless. It was very sad for me to see people in the streets. I just felt really sad for them. And I feel like everyone should have the same opportunities as me.
All right, you can help me if you like.
So my mum and dad introduced me to the early morning centre and I started raising money through them. They make breakfast and lunch for people who are in need, and they also have like hospitals, vets and people like that come over. They have free Wi-Fi and laundry.
Did you want to unpack some of this with me?
Cherie was really nice about it and she said some stuff about the early morning centre, what they do and how I can help them, and their emergency packs, which I started doing. People who are in need are allowed to get them one time a week. Tuna. They consist of tuna, noodles, baked beans, cereal and gum. Have you done the sultanas yet? No, not yet. I decided to raise money and make 10 a week, which is $100 a week.
Kirsten's wants to make a donation.
Amy, Belinda.
That's amazing.
Yeah. My target was to raise $5,000, which was 500 packs, which was hard at first, but then I had like these fundraising things at my school fete and those sorts of things.
He's supplied us with a month's worth of emergency food packs to give to our guests. That is amazing for anyone to give, let alone for a 10-year-old to do.
Kind of excited, surprised I would make it this far. That's it. And like happy.
Awesome work, Mr. 10. Well, that's all we have for today, but we'll be back with more next week. And in the meantime, you can keep up with us online and check out Newsbreak every weeknight. Have the best week and I'll see you soon. Bye.